Welcome to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views show. I'm your host, Diane Sawyer, President and CEO of the Reidsville Chamber. Today I have with me Executive Board Member and Treasurer, J.R. Cecil, who is also a Liberty Tax franchise owner for Rockingham County.
Yep, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
It's tax season.
It's tax season.
It's always a thing, you start tax season full of adrenaline and excitement, and then you slowly start supplementing with caffeine as the excitement wears off, the caffeine comes.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
the
like
eyes,
your eyeballs are like half pace.
a little puffier. You just get dialed in, right? The further tax season goes. So we're at that part where I'm starting to supplement with caffeine. So
what are we, halfway in?
Tax season's about 16 weeks, and we're at like 7.5 weeks, so we're right at halfway.
Yeah. Well, bless you.
Right at halfway. But we're only a third of the way through our volume as far as when clients come in. We're still
nasty weather.
Yeah. Snow pushed a lot. So yeah, it's I had a conversation with somebody during the snow. The restaurant shutting down or the boutique shutting down, like they lost those sales in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Ours just got shifted. So I feel lucky that the clients are still going to come see me. They still have to file taxes, but on a snow day, they're going to eat lunch somewhere else. And so I do feel a little sympathy for those that were closed and won't capture that revenue again. But yeah, so we're trying to keep up. Trying not to lose the client experience and try to keep everybody happy, and turnaround time's still good. But yeah, we're busy.
You guys are not only busy, there are a lot of changes this year, like new updates and things. Tell us about some of that stuff.
It was, so there's typically changes every tax season, right? But every once in a while you'll get a big, beautiful bill that'll come through. And
is that what we call them?
It's one big, beautiful bill. It sounds like there might be more, but one big, beautiful bill is changing some tax rules this year. The Trump accounts are new. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. The no tax on Social Security. That's an interesting one. So yeah, there's some tax changes this year.
So what does that even mean? Some of that.
So yeah, so the no tax on Social Security.
Yeah.
Social Security is still calculated taxable at the same way it used to be. So Social Security by itself, for most people, is not taxable. If you're just drawing Social Security, you don't have to file because there's no filing requirement, right? Mm. But historically, if you have other income, say a pension, a spouse you're working, full-time job, whatever, as you have other income in your household, that can bring in that Social Security as taxable. And so, the spirit of the law, or I think what they were trying to do is to reduce taxes on Social Security. It merged or evolved into just a senior deduction. And so if you're above 65, you get an extra $6,000 deduction, right? And so that in essence reduces your taxable income. Mm-hmm. But what if you started drawing Social Security early at 62 or 63, you didn't change. Mm-hmm. Your scenario didn't change. Or if you're on disability at 50 years old and you're drawing disability Social Security that's treated the same way as far as taxes go, you didn't get that deduction. So it's truly more of a senior deduction than it is no tax on Social Security. It is definitely helping folks. Anybody over 65, they get that deduction. Heck, what if you delayed your Social Security drawing? What if you're 66 years old and you're waiting until you're 67? You still get the deduction even though you're not taking Social Security.
Whoa.
So it's an additional deduction for seniors in order to help reduce taxes, or those that pay taxes on their Social Security.
I think Shane and I have parents that will fall into that.
Yeah, a lot of people will be.
That's crazy.
Until you see it, everybody's scenario is different, right? Like you might be drawing a big old $2,000 Social Security check and have a little pension, or vice versa. You might get $800 Social Security and have a big job that you're still working. So it's going to play out different for everybody. But yeah, ask your tax preparer to see how it helped on your tax return if you're above 65.
That's crazy. Well, that's just one thing.
Yeah. So when the politician has the idea, I want to reduce taxes on Social Security, how do the mechanics work? They have to figure that out. And that's what bubbled up this year was an additional deduction for those over 65.
Wow. So talk to us about the overtime and the tips and stuff. Like, how does all that factor in?
The no tax on tips, I don't want to say it's comical, but how many people report their tip income? Not many people have overtime.
Do that.
Over the past few years, employers have done a better job on capturing or reporting tip income and having it reported on the W-2s. And so it's helping those folks. But if you're working at a small mom and pop that's not reporting the tip income, not many people will voluntarily report, nor even know that they need to track it, right? And so there's some client education that needs to take place. We need to tell them, hey, it is plenty okay to report your tips, and then we can deduct them back out. It is built for middle class folks, and so it starts phasing out at around $150,000 in adjusted gross income. So that one, it's truly a deduction for folks that live, I would say, in Rockingham County that have good tip income. Those that have reported tips, it's definitely helping. Those that haven't been reporting their tips, it's no change.
There's no change for
Yeah,
them.
there's no tips to deduct back out. So
I would think in the day of electronic payment that tips would be reported more than they used to be, because there's a lot of people, a lot of people still leave cash, but I know just from talking recently to some chamber members, like, they specifically, because the point of sale systems ask automatically, that's how they're supplementing income for their employees, is through tips, through the point of sale system. So I would think that would track.
Yeah, more tips are being captured, more tips are being reported. And I would encourage folks to report their tips. It doesn't just affect your taxes. If you go get a car loan and you're only showing that you made $12,000, your debt to income is not going to support a car payment. Oh, well, I make an extra $20,000 in tips. Well, no, you can't prove it. You didn't show it. Yep. So I would encourage folks to report their tips for. How about Social Security? When you turn 65 or 66 and go start drawing Social Security, they'll look at your earnings records. Oh, you only made this much your whole life. Well, no, I made a lot more, but you never reported it, so your Social Security check is going to reflect that. So I always encourage folks to report tips. It is the right thing to do, but a lot of times
more importantly, it affects you negatively if you don't on multiple levels.
Right. It's a short-term avoidance of tax that can definitely affect long-term in your finances.
Stability for sure.
Yeah, so but people hear things, it's like, oh, my manager told me, or my aunt told me not to.
I won't lie to you.
Know what I mean?
When I was 17 years old, and I won't name the restaurant, but I was working for a restaurant, and you were supposed to report your cash tips, but they trained you to only report a portion of them.
A percentage of?
Yep. And when you're 17 years old, you don't know any better.
No, you're just learning, so you're absorbing. Yeah. And that's what I heard, and that's what I always heard. Yeah. So I don't. So the tip one, that one, it's great for the news. It's to report, hey, we're no tax on tips. But most of those folks weren't reporting all of their tips anyway. And so, I work for my clients, not for the IRS, so I'm not going to start, calling the IRS and saying I know them and them and them make money. Like, my goal is to have your tax return as accurate as possible. Yep. Like that's why I try to educate my clients and try to encourage them, track it, report it.
You do such a good job.
Long term, it'll help. Really so the no tax on tips doesn't affect as many people as you would think. There's a lot of people that earn tips, but
I would imagine the overtime thing's a much bigger deal.
The overtime is definitely making an impact. Because you think about the jobs around the county. A lot of people are working hourly jobs, blue collar jobs, right? Warehouse, linemen, plumbers, all that. They're all making overtime, and that's a big deduction. The tough part with that one is, I don't want to say it was oversold, but it was misunderstood on how that deduction is taken. And so, example, I had a client the other day, they're like, yeah, I got $4,000 in overtime, I get that back, right? And so that was a quick, you're connecting dots that aren't there. So you already got the $4,000, right? You already got the overtime.
Yeah, you got paid.
Yeah. So what we're doing, we're going to reduce the taxes on that money. And so there's a formula, depending on whether you make time and a half or double time during your overtime, to deduct a piece. So in general, you get what's called the overtime premium as a deduction. So example, say somebody makes $10 an hour. How much do they make during overtime? 15, an additional 5. That 5 is the overtime premium, and that is what is tax-free if you make within the income guidelines. So if that same person made $4,500 in overtime income, divided by 3, get that overtime premium amount, we get to deduct $1,500 from their taxable income. 10% tax bracket saves them $150 in taxes on $4,500 in overtime. So it is a piece of the overtime that gets back out. But
So not
technically,
all overtime, but the overtime premium.
the overtime premium is the new buzzword. Yeah, the overtime premium.
You have just educated me so much on all the things I didn't
Like
know
I said,
that affect me personally and my family.
So
and all
another
the things.
tough part-
Not me, my husband, but
that rule was put in place mid-year. So the employers are not required to report it on the W-2. And so it almost scares me, people doing their own taxes and they're trying to apply that rule. That kid's going to grab $4,500 and put that in. No, it's only the premium that you get to deduct out, because you have to refer back to your last December pay stub and get your overtime. The news isn't teaching folks how to do the math to pull the premium out.
heck no, they're not.
A lot of pay stubs do have separate line items. This is your overtime, this is your overtime premium. Some W-2s have the overtime premium on there. Next year, they'll be mandated to report and show how much was overtime premium, so it'll be easy. This year, I imagine there will be a lot of letters of people that took too large of a deduction.
And folks, this is the reason why you hire a professional.
That's why we're open year round.
That's
to
right.
help with those letters. So that one, a lot of confusion around it. A lot of people are like, "Yeah, I earned $4,500 in overtime. My refund's going to go up that much." No, there's some math, and it'll still help you, but you don't get all that back. You already got it.
Whew.
We just help reduce your taxable income.
Whew.
So
a lot.
the overtime rule there's a lot of confusion, a lot of hope around that one, but
So
it's still helping.
You're a special person in the fact that you take it, I feel like, to the next level. Like, you're not just a franchise owner, but you are a really good leader, and you're a really good boss. You're a really good, like, you care about people, the community, your team, your clients, so much so that you've worked for corporate, so much so that you've led and still lead, I believe, mastermind groups.
I have.
For your Liberty Tax folks. How, with all of that you just said, how does that roll down for you? Do you individually have to learn those things? Does corporate teach you all? Like, how does that happen?
The tax
like,
rules and
yeah,
things?
like, how do you learn what the new things are for the year?
So that's a big benefit of being in the franchise, is the training that comes out of corporate, because those rules are slow to come out sometimes. And so we have tax experts, tax attorneys, enrolled agents, all that produce training materials. We have very regular calls, webinars, and all that. So just networking with the right people, the smart folks that come together. So that's how the knowledge gets shared, right? Even into tax season, I had a phone call. It was a couple weeks into tax season, and he was like, "Walk me through the overtime deduction." And I told him, he was like, "I got some phone calls to make." And so he had to call a couple clients that he had already prepared, and then he saw that he might not have been doing it right, and so he had to make some adjustments for a couple folks. But
does your system that you use change and update from year to year based on things, or is it something that's more about knowledge and knowing how to input things?
both.
Okay.
So the software is definitely a guide. That's a little bit of our secret weapon, but still, you can. I mean, if same example, he brought in his W-2 and said he earned $4,500 of overtime. The software doesn't know how much overtime, whether I'm
For
typing
sure.
in 4,500 or 1,500. It's going to take my input and take that as a deduction. So I still have to know the rules. A lot of times people are like, "Oh, you must be so good at math." Well, the software does the math. We have to know the rules. It's like learning how to drive. Don't turn right on red unless no other cars are coming. Oh, wait, you can't
I
turn.
before E, except after
Yeah,
C.
so you have to learn all the rules.
Yeah.
Overtime is deductible if you made less than 150,000 modified adjusted gross income. So you have to know the rules, and that's where it comes into play. A lot of tax returns are pretty straightforward. This is my W-2. This is my standard deduction. This is how much they want to keep out of your withholdings. That's a lot of folks you can argue is data entry, but once you put kids on there, you put overtime, you put retirement, you put these different things, itemized deductions. All that takes rules that you have to apply, and that's where the complexity comes in, the mistakes come in, and the guidance is needed.
Yeah.
So, but to go back to your question, yes. So corporate pushes a lot of training out. Have a great network of other franchisees and tax folks that I deal with. And as far as working, as a franchisee, a lot of people pick on me. They're like, you work in your business, not on your business. I was like, that's the fun part. I like working in the business. I like doing tax returns. I like knowing that when you leave my office, you're in a better position than when you walked in, because I was able to help you, right? We made an adjustment in your financial journey.
It's one of my favorite things about you. You are very much like a family member of mine who used to be a branch manager of a credit union.
Mm-hmm.
And you have served on the boards of credit unions.
I used to work at a credit union.
And used to work at a credit union. And you're one of those people who you're not trying to just sell somebody something. Like you literally, or provide a service or whatever in those roles,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you literally take the time to educate the person,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that they were better than when you found them.
Right.
You left them in a better position with advice.
If I didn't add value, I should not be asking for money. I shouldn't be charging somebody that I didn't improve their scenario or help them in some way. So, yeah, it is a consultative sales approach or a consultative service that we offer.
I love it. I think it makes it different. It makes your Eden and Reidsville offices stand out.
Yeah.
And I think that is important.
Well, I enjoy helping. There's a bunch of franchisees that have multiple locations and they work from a home office or somewhere in a back office where they're just monitoring reports. I can't do that. I can't sit back. In order for me to feel the pulse of the business, I got to be in the office.
Absolutely.
Right? I have some rock stars up in Eden, and they guide their ship. I plug in as much as I can. I usually am found here at the Reidsville location, helping clients or doing my thing. But yeah, I like working in the business.
Yeah. And you know what? You have taken that a step further, not just the business, but the way that you are a part of the chamber. And we are very thankful for you. You've been on several boards,
Mm-hmm.
I know you've tried to whittle down and be a little more focused and geared at, but you are a part of, we've been talking about this strategic plan that the chamber's doing through
Mm-hmm.
NC Growth and the survey being due today. Tell us a little bit about like what makes you excited about that, or what you think, what are you forecasting is going to come out of it, or where do you feel we are with that?
Like I was telling you, I don't feel like I'm as knowledgeable about the strategic plan as I could or should be. I did put my input in. I did the survey. I talked about what I think the chamber's role into the future should be, and where we can help most. And we talked about it. It's connections, right? I think connecting people, connecting events, connecting the community, connecting landlords with tenants and contractors with bankers. The chamber is the hub of connections, and so I think that's where we're emerging to. We had that conversation out at RCC not too long ago, and they were talking about how the future is connections, and the whole time, it was Reidsville Area Foundation, right? They were talking about how the connections are important, and the whole time I wasn't thinking about the meeting I was sitting in. I was thinking about how the chamber can be, a solution to a lot of what they're talking about. And so
It's funny.
I think I sent you my notes even.
Well, it's funny that you say that. That's what they said, is in other communities, the work that they've done has been very successful in communities where the chamber became the vehicle for the work they were doing. So I've told Dawn, we're like 1,000% in.
We can be a vehicle, or a catalyst.
No, we can be all the things.
Yeah.
all the things. So I'm very excited about that.
That I'm hoping our strategic plan will have a huge piece of just connection.
Me too.
Right?
That's what my feedback
Yeah.
was too. I feel like I didn't pay you to say that, but that's what Wes and I talked about on a previous episode.
Yeah.
Was connections, and I mean, our whole little piece about the strategic plan was not networking, connectivity, connections, and how that's important and how they're different. And it's funny because you said the same thing.
If I can be a little transparent, back when I'm not from Rockingham County, so when I looked to purchase a franchise 16 tax seasons ago, right before you joined the chamber.
That's right, because it'll be 16 in July for me.
Chamber.
Your first tax season was right before me.
So I ended up renting the space I was at. I was afraid to come downtown. All I heard was it's a good old boys network, and I wasn't going to be accepted. I wasn't from here, and so I rented a place on the outskirts of town, not downtown, outside, because So I think Reidsville has evolved. It's not just the good old boys network that gets stuff done. You benefit from connections, and I have connections outside, inside downtown, outside the city limit. Like, so I don't feel like I finally made it into the good old boys club. I feel like Reidsville has created a connection or created a network, or I found the network where, you can introduce me to my tenant. You can introduce the bookstore to their next landlord. So a lot of my connections have come through the chamber. My shred company that I use, I met them at the expo, right? And so a ton of the value that the chamber can provide is the network, not a good old boys group, but an actual value added network that the chamber can provide. So
I love that you just used a company example. That was Wes was talking about how First Piedmont Corporation, Meat and Chad, they got them as a dumpster service, cut their bill in half, and it pays for their membership in their chamber champs.
So
I mean, and that's what we were talking about.
Yep.
Like, these are testimonies we have got, and we've got to do a better job of telling our story. I think that's something that's come out of all this talk about strategic plan. I've already known that, but I think I'm at the end of my expertise about how else to do that. And so, I mean, we do things like the news and views, and we do things like social media, but we've got to be a little more channeled in on how do we tell these stories and these testimonies.
Well, it's not. Well, I think people recognize that. What we need to scale it up. We need to make it bigger, because right now it's let me call Diane and get a connection.
Right.
Well, no, the chamber we need to continue to provide opportunities like the expo or the business speed datings
or the
She Means
gosh,
Business,
so
job
excited.
fairs. We need to continue to foster these events and spaces and all that makes the connections.
Yeah.
And we don't just need to rely on who do you know. It's who can I meet through the chamber.
Well, it's crazy because of the coffee yesterday. And it's funny that you were talking about, good old boys network and people, Eden versus Reidsville versus, there's all these things that
y'all
people,
had the
but
chamber
we had our
coffee
chamber
in
coffee in Eden
Yeah.
at Eden Jewelry, because they want to continue to have a presence for Reidsville. They used to have a store here. But there were like 40 or 50 people there, and the church made a connection with Brightview, and so First Pres and Brightview are meeting in the next week because they're doing a lot of work in the mental health world and addiction world, and so they're meeting. And then we had 3 or 4 new people join who were potential members. I've never had that many potential members at coffee. It was kind of crazy.
Outside of city limits.
Yeah, and I mean and then there was a connection made. Habitat is getting re-engaged in Reidsville and Rockingham County, and they needed contractors, and there were people there that were like, hey, I got you.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I was blown away. My social battery sometimes, as much of an extrovert as I can be, I've also become more of an introvert in my older years, because I just think there's a lot. And so it's funny, Wes was talking about how he gets so energized. I know you're more of an introvert. And so
our social batteries drain in interactions versus
and so I'm becoming a little bit more introverted, because I feel like we're on this stage and on this platform so much. But I love it. it just sometimes it wears me out, and then I have
Yeah.
to recharge.
Yep.
So I'm just excited about the things that are happening. Talk about that for a minute. You mentioned tenant. You got some cool stuff happening from set aside Liberty Tax. You as a person, like, and as a business, aside from the franchise, have gotten really into purchasing property and renovating property, and you've been passionate about. How many years did we walk the streets trying to find
I
property?
just had a Facebook memory pop up. It was 2021. I'd put a post on Facebook. Anybody know of property downtown Reidsville for sale? So 5 years ago is when, and in the past, it finally, 3 buildings luckily happened. Boom, boom, boom. During COVID, I was able to acquire just 3 different properties here in the county. The one in Eden, it was so easy. The guy that I bought it from, I'd been renting from him for a long time, and I just mentioned it. I was like, "Hey, can I buy the building I've been renting from you for like 10 years?" He was like, "Yeah, sure, that makes sense." And so it just worked out. Didn't even have to move. Like, I'd been in
That's
that building for
amazing.
10 years already. So
And it's prime real estate. It is right there.
very, very busy intersection,
Yep.
great visibility. We love that location. Parking has always been a struggle. I mean, you're just competing for parking with the tenants and that busy intersection. But yeah, great visibility, good building. Right after I bought it, I had to put a roof on, and then the minute I paid for the roof, the HVAC went out, and so American Partners jumped in, loaned me some more money to do the HVAC. So yeah, it's good to have that connection as well. So that building has been great. Like, and as a business owner, one of the biggest benefits of being able to buy the property, your rent goes up year after year. My mortgage is fixed for the next 15, 20, 25 years, however long I have left on them, right? So in 10 years, when everybody else's real estate or rent expense is going up and they're getting price pressures where they have to raise prices, I hopefully won't have to do that, right? So my overhead costs are fixed at that location compared to what rent could have done.
Yep.
So same thing here. I was able to acquire, we were just talking before the meeting, it was almost 3 years ago. It's been 3? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that purchase process took a while as the seller went into retirement. The building that we moved into here, I was lucky enough to purchase it, and my mortgage is fixed instead of my rent continuing to go up as it had over time. So it has just helped my business by being able to purchase those properties. It is a big leap of faith because down payments on commercial property are bigger than what it has to be or what it is on residential. But just being able to acquire those 2 properties and move my tax business into is going to make my business more efficient years to come.
And you acquired some pretty cool history
Yeah,
while you were there.
The old Ed Gun building, one of the earliest buildings, Sip Coffee House, old Ed Gun building, Leaf and Teller, some of the properties here on Gilmer, they're some of the oldest buildings downtown. If you look at the Sanborn insurance maps, it shows these properties, what they were, whether it's a dry goods or a feed store or a pharmacy. Like it's
Or a
just
bank.
neat to or a bank. It's neat to see a lot of the history on some of these old buildings. So
Yep.
the building here on Scales, the Ed Gun building, we had some storm damage right after I acquired that. So hey, thanks for buying the property. Here's another check you need to write. Again, American Partners jumped in and loaned me the money to redo the whole front facade. We could have just patched it. Did you know, well, I'm not going to pick on insurance, but it didn't make sense to do an insurance claim just for that storm damage, that 10-foot section of stucco that fell off. So got with my banker at American Partners, and we decided to do the whole thing. So used Right Ray Construction. They just moved to Reidsville not too long ago, moved downtown. We redid the windows, redid the front stucco, the whole facade, and kept the same charm that it has had since the 70s.
Which the Main Street program loves.
Yeah, we found some old drawings back in the 70s, and we kept it, even kept similar coloring. We just wanted it to look like it fit in. So
Yeah.
we're trying to embrace the vintage in that location. We could do a big major remodel downstairs, but I think it'd lose some of its charm. And so have some ideas to improve the lighting and paint and fixtures and stuff.
But
But
you've done some
I want
pretty
to
cool
keep.
stuff with the painting. The UMAR folks have done
Yep.
some things for you.
Yep.
And
I was Nancy with Umar just come by the other day, and we were talking about the mural and how much of a fun project that was. Have another the Gilmore property that I was able to acquire from Dave from Cafe 99 before he passed. It has a ghost Coca-Cola mural on the wall, so got some things in the works. Hopefully that'll be done in the next year or so.
well, and what's cool is you purchased the two properties that make sense because they're your business. But now you have this third property that's like a fun property because it's not just like your two franchises.
The idea was fun. It has been quite a journey since acquiring. It's I talked to Dave about it. He didn't want to sell that building. I was talking about another property that he owned, and we couldn't quite come to terms on that one. And so I was like, well, what about the other one? He's like, nah, I'm going to remodel that one. It's got a great apartment upstairs. I got this idea. And I was like, oh, okay. And then a few weeks later, I mentioned it to him. I was like, what would you take? And he told me what he would take for the building, and we had a contract that Friday. And I don't think he expected me to pull the trigger, but it has definitely worked out for the better. I'm going to try to pay homage to Dave and remodel that apartment to the glory it needs to be. Same thing with the Ed Guns building. I talked to the previous owner, the daughter of Ed Guns, and my whole goal is to embrace the vintage. We have an old workstation that was a desk left by the previous tenant. It has an old typewriter on it and some old papers and tools of the trade for a bookstore. I like the history. I like the stories. So not trying to cover it up, trying to embrace it and keep Reidsville beautiful.
Well, we love that. Well, we are past time.
So we do that all the time.
We do that. I love it though. I love chatting with you, whether it's on camera or off camera. You have become not only a mentor in some ways, but just a friend and a colleague, and I love it. JR, you were one of the first people I met because you had come to the chamber and joined with my predecessor, and so you're one of those that I inherited way back when. And it's just been cool to see your business grow and see what you've done and appreciate what you do in Eden and Reidsville. And I love it. So tell folks where they can find you, or especially during tax season, but when they have problems after tax season.
Yeah, we're open year round. That's one of our commitments to the community. A lot of tax places don't have this, I don't want to say support, but they just don't have the hours. They don't have the presence outside of tax season, and we commit to that. We're open 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday outside of tax season. So, and we have long-term, I mean, we own the property, so we're not going anywhere now, right?
Yep.
So we'll be at 107 South Scales all the time. And then up in Eden, you can find us at 709 South Van Buren, right on Highway 14 beside the Wells Fargo. And then here, we're 2 doors down from Sip Coffee House. Just up the block from the chamber.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you so much, JR. I appreciate your time today in the middle of your crazy busy tax season.
Yep. I have appointments all day.
I know you do. So we'll get you out of here. Awesome.
Thanks.
All right, folks, that is it for today's news and views. As always, you can find us in the heart of downtown Reidsville at 140 South Scale Street, on our social channels, and on our website at reidsvillechamber.org. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.